Boona is a native of Passamore, Indiana. She's an Indian that is always committed and been committed, see family to public service. She, through trauma and violence in India, Pakistan portion, at the age of 2 experienced life as a refugee. And I think it's important to kind of know this history of Boona because many of us know her but don't know some of the causal factors that have given her the energy to do the work that she's done. In 1969, Boona spent time working with napalm burned children in what it was then called South Vietnam. And that was at a very early age, so it left an impression on her that we've been experiencing in terms of her energy since then. She gained knowledge then of the trauma and the healing of lives of children through living in wars, which some are still experiencing in parts of the world, as well as those living in poverty, deep poverty. In 1971, Boona immigrated to the United States and went to work for a small nonprofit organization at that time called the Healy Street Work Project that grew into a nationally renowned, award-winning nonprofit county-wide organization dedicated to ending homelessness. That organization today is known to us as Building Opportunities for Self-Sufficiency. Boona has been the executive directress of this organization, Building Opportunities for Self-Sufficiency, as I stated earlier, for 40 years. Under her leadership, BOSS, as we know, Building Opportunities for Self-Sufficiency, grew from a single street outreach office in 1971 to today's BOSS, which is an award-winning countywide multi-strategy organization that serves nearly 1/3 of Alameda County's entire homeless population. Boona has distinguished herself through her active participation in being at the table with front-line planning whenever major changes and new resources emerge, including the economic stimulus bill, welfare reform, disaster relief, housing first, and the expansion of homelessness to include families, working people, veterans, ex-offenders, seniors, people with HIV and AIDS, and other health crises. Boona has combined her work at the helm of BOSS with a broader effort to create systematic change for social and economic equity. Let me say, knowing Boona for probably most, if not all, of those years, the importance here is systematic change, because you can have a temporary Band-Aid and it gives an immediate relief, but being able to sustain that for people who need it past the immediate relief is what is very important, and that's what we're trying to do in the county. Boona has served on the boards of directors for numerous local and state nonprofits, including the Center for Independent Living, Housing California, and the Nonprofit Housing Association of Northern California. She also serves as an advisor for the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation and Global Exchange. Internationally, Boona has served on several board of directors, such as Oxfam America, the SEVA Foundation, Food First, and the Cheema Foundation. In an effort to help secure the future of service provision in the region, she has provided mentoring, which is critical these days, and technical assistance, also critical these days, beyond executive directors of several organizations, including the Carnet House in San Francisco, First Place Fund for Youth, Sports for Kids in Oakland. In addition, she has spearheaded the creation of the Berkeley Community Coalition to human service nonprofit organizations. She remains aware of policy changes up to the moment in real time and continue to align to a larger force which needs to advocate for human needs. She has been recognized nationally, internationally, in a number of different venues. As an inductee of the Alameda County Women's Hall of Fame, Berkeley Women of the Year, Berkeley Living Legend Award, KPFA Peace Award, National Women's Political Caucus Service to the Homeless Award, the San Francisco Foundation Community Leadership Award, Veterans Assistance Center recognition, National Peace Institute Local Grassroots Peacemaker, Indian Federation Association Excellence in Social Services, the Anti-Defamation League Women on the Move Board, and President Bush Point of Light Award. I think it's important to mention all of these because they come from a number of different perspectives, and they all recognize the importance of the contribution that boona has made in all of those areas. Most importantly, though, boona has served as a mentor, a leader, a partner, and an inspiration to thousands of homeless and low-income people in Alameda County and beyond, as well as to private citizens who have witnessed the positive impact that one individual can make in a community. Before I would ask boona to come up, and I know that we have Linda Mayo from the city of Berkeley, kind of the birthplace of the organization. I'll have her come forward, but let me say, I said that this is a day of mixed feelings because I have personally known boona for the majority of that time. I think us all growing up to some extent in an environment of continuous learning around social justice. She has not only been a friend, she has been an educator to me personally, expanding my knowledge of what it takes to work within the social justice movement, which is very challenging on a regular basis. I think we all hold the same beliefs around social justice. Is how do we get there? It's the same thing as how you define who a progressive is, which we have struggled for many years in Berkeley in particular, because it has varied meanings to various people, but we think forward thinking is really the underlying impediment of that. I want to thank you, first of all, and I know that you'll have your big event at the end of the month, and I have an opportunity to do it again. But I want to publicly thank you for being a friend, beating me over the head on a regular basis to educate me because you think I'm stubborn and I can't always get it. I appreciate it. Exposing me to a better understanding of those who are challenged to live from the street up on a daily basis. And also the patience to deal with bureaucracy, which is another thing that I personally learned from boona. Because while she has been very fervent, true to her ideals, she has been non-compromising on the end result. She has understood what it takes to have some forward movement, something that I didn't have many years ago but have learned to acquire. Doesn't mean that you compromise. It means that you say, how do we make sure that people today have housing? How do we make sure that children today have food? And I want to say thank you for instilling that and helping me be a part of who I am today. As Linda Mayo, City Council Person from Berkeley, to come at this time, and then board members may want to ask.
Thank you. As the Vice Mayor from the City of Berkeley, I'm really honored to be here. Thank you for inviting me. I know the Mayor would have been here if he could be. You know, we're going to be feting boona at the Berkeley City Council on February 19th, and there will be also a large occasion, but to celebrate the years of her work and to wish her well in her retirement. But I can tell you that she's not about to really retire. She'll be with us continuing to do her work because that is definitely her nature. I've known boona for over 30 years, but until yesterday there were some things that I didn't know about her until then, and it explains why when the mental health institutions were closed in the early 70s and mental health patients hit our streets and we were reeling from that and we didn't know what to do, but yet wanted to take the compassionate response. It was this person here who rolled up her sleeves because of her own work and her own past history, this work in Vietnam and your training as a divinity person. Immediately, boona sprang into action, cleared the decks, and got to work on helping the people who were so vulnerable on our streets. And since then, as you said, she built an organization that has served the East Bay and our communities in an extraordinary way, and has been a teacher and a mentor to all of us. So I'm going to save all of my big remarks for when our own event will happen, but I did want to say these things to you, boona, and congratulate you, and look forward to working with you as well. Thank you.
Just before you speak, I want to give my colleagues an opportunity, if they so choose, to make some comments.
Boona, I just want to also thank you for all your years of advocacy. When I first was on the board in 1995, you were one of the first advocates I met, and you've continued to work all these years. I don't know how you feel looking back on it. I guess your reward will be all the lives that you actually probably saved, all the people you helped. But I hope you continue to be active, because the, Supervisor Carson was talking about the budget, but as you know, right, in the last 3 years, there's been $16 billion of cuts in health and human services. And we see the people here. Yes. We see them on the street. We see people without jobs. We see the increase in the food bank. And also, the county administrator just did this report on value-based budgeting, which will be given to the board soon, but the child poverty rate has gone up by 11% just in the last few years. So I know that I'll see you. I know you'll continue to be active, but in some ways it's probably bittersweet, because we have so much to catch up on just from the economy in the last 3 years. So we really have to keep going, and I know you'll be there. So thank you very much.
We're already working on Boona's next slide.
I'm sure you can find something.
I'll just ditto everything that Supervisor Carson said, Supervisor Chan said. Yeah, with an exclamation mark.
Boona, I know you more through the work that you've done with BOSS. It's made huge impacts even in Southern Alabama County. My congratulations on your retirement and the great work and this organization that you built. It sort of reflects your commitment to social services and to the people of not just this area, but humanity. Thank you.
Then I want to give the county administrator an opportunity to say something, because I know that there have been, while others see all the positive stuff happening with BOSS, there have been some times during the years where there were bumpy roads, and we've had to deal with, might have been the Bush administration, some of these things. And so in order to sustain it, we've had to solicit the assistance of our county administrator, as well as during those days, Dave Kears and others, to kind of make sure that the institution stays as strong as it is today.
I would just, on behalf of the entire county family, including all the department heads, echo all the remarks that were made. You're really an extraordinary individual, and you've always been very frank and direct. And I know that you have never hesitated to pick up the phone, to raise issues. We haven't always agreed, but I think we've always been able to move forward. And so the work that you've done has really left a huge legacy and some really big shoes to fill. So congratulations, and look forward to continuing to working together.
You want to say something already?
Well, I feel loved, and that's really important for me, because that's what I like to do. I told you I was going to cry, but I'm going to say, no, you're not going to cry, but it's a good cry. You've heard about my past, so I want to say a little bit about the future. I live in Berkeley. I've lived there for 42 years. I'm not going anywhere. I'm very committed to the people of Alameda County for the faith, the trust, the loyalty, the honor that this whole community has given me. And I love all the cities that I get to sort of go around in. I was trying to remember the first Board of Supervisors meeting that I came to, and I believe it was 1978. I might be off by a year, when Supervisor John George got elected. And it was really under his blessings and under his leadership and mentoring that I began to really come into the role that I had then taken and tried to do as good a job as possible. But during all this time, I've tried to stay really committed to his values, his mission for this county, and I hope that I have made some good contributions. Moving forward, I already have a television host show that is on YouTube. We tape it once a month on social equity issues. I'm an emerging artist, photographer, so I'm going to try to use multimedia to put our message out in a different way. Because I believe that we haven't yet been able to make the kind of statements that we need to make to prove that much work needs to be done in our communities. But we have to create a message that really speaks to all sides that exist, and not just necessarily a message that only appeals to those of us who live that very life center. I'm hoping to do that. I will continue to sit on any board commission that I'm requested to sit on if it's a good fit. And I will finish this year out on the budget committee. So expect to see me here. I'm hoping that I will never get arrested here again. That having happened twice in my life. Those were heady days. But you can depend on me. I am solid in this community. I'm very committed to all the different areas of mental illness and mental health, and of course to continue to protect the civil and human rights of homeless people. A bill that we just introduced through Tom Amiano, AB 5, it's a homeless bill of rights that we're determined to get passed through the legislature. It might take a year or two, and we'll be bringing to all of you to consider and look at and add your names to it. I hope to see all of you on the 23rd, and I'm sure you'll see me right here saying something or the other on the budget and how it falls out. So it's not goodbye, it's just a different return. I want to take a moment to introduce our new executive director, Donald Fraser. And if it's all right, he can say a few words. We've made an excellent choice.
I don't want to say much. This is Boona's day, but I'm humbled and amazed at this dynamic woman's biography that you read, Supervisor Carson. I look forward to meeting all of you individually and as a group, as well as the department heads. And again, I don't want to take too much time, but thank you for welcoming me, and thank you for the introduction, Boona, and I look forward to meeting with you all and continue working.